Welcome back to our reflections on the Gospel of the following Sunday, and today we're reflecting on the 14th Sunday of the year. So I read the text from Mark. He left that place and came to his hometown, and his disciples followed him. On the Sabbath day, he began to teach in the synagogues, and many who heard him were astounded. They said, "Where did this man get all that wisdom? What wisdom that has been given to him? What deeds of power are being done by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offence at him. Then Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honour, except in their hometown, and among their own kin, and in their own house." And he could do no deed of power there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them, and he was amazed at their unbelief. So the context of this particular story, it comes after the healing of Jairus' daughter. And the message there is, do not be afraid, have faith. So there's a sort of a contrast. We're moving from a group that had faith to a group that clearly do not have faith. Jesus teaches on the Sabbath in the synagogue, and so obviously that's what he used to do. And the people were astounded. That's a Markan thing. Everybody's amazed at what Jesus did. And they talk about the deeds of power, that are there. And they took offence at him. That's that word, scandalised at him. Yeah. It isn't exactly clear why they did that, but in another incident in Nazareth, he began to speak about the Gentiles coming in, and that was the thing why they took a scandal with him. However, clearly it's the lack of belief that is the thing, and he has that saying there, that no prophets are not without honour except in their hometown and among their own kin and in their own house. That's a common saying, but we think Mark has added among their own kin. And you've only got to think back to chapter 3, where the family of Jesus come, and we've got that inside-outside thing where the family haven't understood, and Jesus says, well, my family are those who follow it. So really, Jesus is pointing to an extended family that is based around belief, and clearly what he's got here is not that. So it's a sort of an incident there that they're amazed that this local person could have such wisdom, but they don't come to recognise that could be from God. And I think that's the thing that Jesus had to face. It was difficult for people to see him as the one who was expected to come. So I think that's all I wanted to say about that. And then Jesus carries on his thing of going around teaching. Even within that we see the fact that he teaches and the fact that he cures. And shortly we're going to look at the 12 being sent out. And there's that twofold mission. And we are continuing the teaching, but that here we don't see today the healing that was there in the time of Jesus. Although when you look at all the saints that are being canonised by the church, there's got to be miracles behind that, and very often they're healing miracles. So you can say that the healing is going on, but not in terms of discipleship having that dimension in a clear and positive way. So, what did you have to say?
Well, for me, I suppose was that just somewhere in there, that understanding of questioning how could the son of a carpenter have this wisdom? And every now and then, it is a good wake-up call to remember the wisdom and the experience of the ordinary, or those without necessarily the academic qualifications, that sometimes I may have a great affection and understanding for the people's ordinary experience of faith And I think I went to Jamberoo Abbey once to learn about Lectio, and a sister down there was talking about Lectio, and she said, in a way, she used to look to her mother, who she said she was in constant conversation with God from the time she got up to the time she went to bed. And she said, I've lost the hose and I can't find the tap, and dear God, help me find this and help. She said she was in constant conversation with God, chewing over his words and thoughts. So that's really what struck me, just a reminder to remember it's not necessarily the intellectual brilliance, but it's about the heart of faith.
Even fishermen.
Yes.
Even fishermen can do that. Yes. But I've been thinking about that. I've been giving her some talks at Chatswood, and I don't think they're going to be looking at this video, but I've been struck by the people who come to the talks, that they are those people. They've got great faith. Yeah. They're not people that are well trained. Yep. And one of the breakdowns, in my own opinion, of religious life was the academic life. That suddenly they needed to get qualifications for their teaching, and then some of them went on to get further degrees to do various jobs in the church. But in a sense, I think that drew them away rather than help them. It could help them, but in fact, I think it drove them away. And I feel that in terms of our seminaries, the academic has too big a place.
Okay.
Really, it dominates, doesn't it, John?
It's my experience.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So you're right, I think, and that's the point that's being made, that in the Gospels, they're not academics.
No. And it's the academic that in many ways, it's not really going from head to heart.
No.
And I think, sometimes you hear it said that children, as they get into their teenage years, they question everything of mum and dad. Yeah. And then by the time they get to 20, they wonder how mum and dad sort of learned so much in such a short time. And it just seems to me a bit like this, because in his own town he's not accepted, but he seems to be accepted everywhere. There was nothing that Jesus could do, and that just startles me, how you can grow up there. But it just reminded me of parents and children. And I take your point of the academic, David. Sometimes, for all of the opportunity to grow in faith, I wonder if it really is a growth in faith, or if it is the acquisition of just knowledge.
And all of the knowledge of the Scriptures. I mean, our priests today would know more about the Scriptures than any group in the past. But the Scriptures are not an integral part of their life. And that's something that the academic presentation hasn't had the consequence of, which it should. And we could talk here all day. I apologise for that. We want to know want you now to look at the text and draw something out. You may not draw out all the things that we drew out of it, but remember that Lectio is meeting Christ in the Scriptures. So open your heart and look at the text and feel, what is the Lord saying to you at this time? Welcome back. We're going to invite you now to listen to the reading for a second time.
He left that place and came to his hometown, and his disciples followed him. On the Sabbath he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were astounded. They said, "Where did this man get all this? What is this wisdom that has been given to him? What deeds of power are being done by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offence at him. Then Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honour, except in their hometown, and among their own kin, and in their own house." And he could do no deed of power there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them. And he was amazed at their unbelief.
Yes, I felt that the point that you raised, Virginia, about the ordinary, everyday person, that really is about one's faith. For all the talents that we have, and we do have talents, I think our society praises talents, like talents in the movie world and talents in the economic world of people that can do great things, but it's what lies behind that. There's a sense, I was reading Towler the other day, and he was making the point that we're not just doers, we've got to be beers. And I think that's the thing. So I just thought I'd reflect on my own faith dimension as I do all the teaching that I do.
And for me, I suppose it was to listen more deeply to the quieter voice amongst it all. Whose voice am I not paying attention to because I'm caught up in the elegance of the intellectual?
I wondered why Mark was telling that story, and I thought maybe it's a challenge to his community at the time, as indeed it is for me now, that I can easily fall into that situation of his hometown crowd. Where did he get all of this, because he's only that. And so it goes back to your thing of the ordinary, and I guess that's where do I see then the marvels of God at work? Where's the marvels that Jesus did continuing in life today? And I don't find it in the great and the almighty, but it's only going to be in the ordinary and the mundane. And I think, things like bread and wine that we'll come to in a couple of weeks in looking at the scriptures. So I kind of want to wrestle with that.
Thank you, Ed. We invite you now to draw something concrete from the reading. Remember that the process of Lectio is what begins in the scriptures, ends in the practice of your life. So just now look at the text in terms of what can you take from it to help you to live more intimately with Jesus. We invite you now just to spend a short time in prayer. We've made the decision to do something. Let us ask God to help us and give us the courage and the strength and the perseverance that we need to do it. Welcome back. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate the fact that time is the real issue in the lives of people today. And you are giving us your time, or rather, we're facilitating you giving that time to the Lord, and we thank you for it. I wanted to mention that on our website, lectiodivina.com.au, is our newsletter. The newsletter has the preparation that we're doing now, but it also has selections from our tradition, all directed at helping you to grow in your faith. So as we conclude, we're going to conclude now with a reading from the Liturgy of the 14th Sunday in Ordinary Time.
O God, who show the light of your truth to those who go astray, so that they may return to the right path, give all who, for the faith they profess, are accounted Christians, the grace to reject whatever is contrary to the name of Christ, and to strive after all that does it honour, through Christ our Lord.